Hey, welcome everyone to GC Youth Night Online. So thankful you guys have chosen to be with us tonight, and your mind is about to be blown. It is going to be a great time. Yes, I'm standing right here at a safe distance away from the Milligan Band. These guys are ready to rock with some awesome songs of worship. Can we say that? Rock about songs of worship? I think so. I hope that you are ready to sing out with them, and it will be, man, I hope so soon that we get to sing and worship together. But I'm so grateful for the hard work these guys have put into leading us in Youth Night Online. Tonight, we're going to have a great message from Ben, and I want to encourage you to get your get communion stuff ready. It's going to be very cool to either you're all by yourself at your home or with your family, or maybe watching with a few friends from your small group. You get to share communion tonight. We are wrapping up this series that we've been focused on getting to know Jesus based on the gospel according to Mark. We're not done with Jesus. We're just finishing up this series, and we'll transition next week into what we'll do for the summer. I'm so grateful for our GC Youth Apprentice team. You'll get to know them this week on social media, so make sure you follow along that. And these guys are going to help us figure out how can we stay connected throughout the summer and get our hearts and minds focused on Jesus. So, hope that you're ready to sing out My Testimony. Let's go, Milligan Band.
I saw Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness run for cover. But the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. I believe in signs and wonders. I have resurrection power. Still the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. My praise belongs to you forever. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Oh, 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 oh. Come together, sons and daughters, bought with blood and washed with water. Sing the praises of the Spirit, Son and Father. Our God will finish what He started. Our God will finish what He started. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Oh, 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 oh. If I'm not dead and you're not done, greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead and you're not done, greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead and you're not done, greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead and you're not done, greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. Oh, I'm alive. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Oh, 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 oh,
Well, about 2 months ago, we started this series on the gospel according to Mark. And our goal in this was to help you to get to know Jesus better according to this gospel. This gospel, a lot of scholars say, is probably a lot of Peter's stories about Jesus. This man, Mark, he knew Peter well, and he recorded a lot of Peter's stories about who Jesus was. And Mark actually begins this gospel by making a claim of saying who he thought Jesus was. And he said that this is the good news about Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of God. Right from the gate, he's saying that Jesus is Messiah. Jesus is the Son of God. And throughout this series, we have tried to teach that. We have had these sessions from Rocky, Kristen, Brett, and I, and we've been talking about who Jesus is. And now tonight, the question for you is, who is Jesus? We want you to really think about this, to really internalize who you believe Jesus is. And in case you've missed any of this series, we want to show you this video from the guys at Bible Project that really outlines just who Mark believed Jesus was.
The Gospel of Mark is a book in the Bible about the life of Jesus. And the earliest reliable tradition tells us that it was written by a guy named John Mark.
Now, Mark didn't just grab a bunch of random stories about Jesus and throw them together. He's designed this book to address some really specific questions about whether or not Jesus was the Jewish Messiah.
So let's stop right there, because that's a term a lot of people like me aren't very familiar with.
Yeah, so the Messiah was a royal figure, sometimes called the Son of God, that Israel was expecting to come and set up a kingdom here on earth. And around the time of Jesus, Israel was occupied by Rome, and so many Jews were hoping that the Messiah would come and overthrow the Romans and rule as king.
But Jesus didn't overthrow the Romans. In fact, he was killed by them.
And that brings us to the very issues Mark is trying to get at in this book. So in the first half, he focuses on who Jesus is. Is he really the Messiah? And then in the second half, he's addressing how Jesus became the Messianic king. And then right here in the middle of the book is this pivotal story that brings the two halves together, and Jesus answers both of these questions.
Okay, so let's talk about the first half of the book, who Jesus is.
So Mark makes his beliefs about Jesus very clear from the first line of the book. The beginning of the good news about Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of God.
One of the next stories is Jesus getting baptized, and God's voice announces from heaven, "This is my son." So it couldn't be more clear. It's presenting Jesus as the Messiah.
Yes, but as you're reading through this first half of Mark, you'll notice something really interesting start to happen. Jesus is going about healing all these different people, and he's constantly telling them to keep quiet about who he is. This happens so many times in Mark's account, it's very strange.
Yeah, why keep it a secret?
So remember, lots of Jews had lots of different expectations about what the Messiah would be and do. And so Jesus doesn't want people to misunderstand what it means for him to be Israel's Messiah. And so with all that in mind, we come now to the pivotal story at the center of the book, where Jesus takes his disciples away and he asks them, "Who do you all say that I am?"
And Peter says what everyone's been saying, "You're the Messiah, the Son of God."
But then something new happens, because Jesus starts explaining to them how he's going to become the Messianic king, and it is not what they expected. He says he's going to suffer and die and rule by becoming a servant, or in his words, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to become a servant and to give his life as a ransom for many.
Peter is startled by this and he rebukes Jesus because there's no way he's going to let Jesus die. And Jesus responds, "Get behind me, Satan," which is really intense.
It really is. But it highlights how important it is for Jesus that his disciples come to understand who he really is. And so here, now in this pivotal section, Jesus tries 3 different times to have this conversation with them, and every time they respond in confusion and even fear.
Okay, so this launches us into the second half of the book, where Mark addresses the question of how Jesus becomes the Messianic King. It's the last week of Jesus' life. He goes to Jerusalem, gets in conflict with the religious leaders, and gets arrested.
And he's put on trial as someone who's claiming to be the king of the Jews. He's even given a crown and a purple robe like a king would get, but it is all a cruel joke.
Then he's mocked and beaten and hung up on a cross where he dies.
And it's here in this crucial scene that we meet a new character.
A Roman soldier
Who suddenly gets everything that's going on.
He says, "Surely this is the Son of God."
Which is crazy. It's an enemy who's first putting it all together that Israel's messianic king is the crucified Jesus.
That's the structure of the book of Mark. But the book doesn't end with Jesus dead on the cross.
No. So on the 3rd day, some women go to visit Jesus' tomb, only to find that it's empty. And then there's this angel standing there, instructing them to go and tell this good news that Jesus is alive from the dead. But instead, they run away and they don't tell anyone because they're afraid, and that's how the book ends.
Which is a really abrupt ending.
Yeah, it's so abrupt that later scribes did add an ending that brings more closure to the story. And you'll find that story in your Bible with a little footnote that says it was added much later. But Mark's a brilliant storyteller, and he's intentionally ended this book abruptly. So all through the book, the disciples have been confused about Jesus' plan to give up his life, the story in the middle, and now right here at the end. It's like Mark is acknowledging just how startling this claim really is. And he wants you, the reader, to wrestle with it for yourself. Is this crucified Jesus really the Messiah that they've been waiting for?
So that's the question tonight. Is this crucified Jesus really Messiah? That's what we want you to wrestle with. That is what Mark wanted you to wrestle with. And that is what we're talking about tonight. So I think there's a few ways that you could respond to this. And first off, obviously, you could just say no. You could just flat out say, no, I don't really believe that he was the Messiah. You can say that this is a good story. You could just decide that you really don't believe this. And when we're looking through Jesus' life, we see a lot of people did respond that way. There were the religious leaders, and there were people that just did not really believe he was the Messiah, and that's a response that you could take. But I have a feeling that if you're watching this video, that may not be your response. Maybe you would say, yes, he is the Messiah, but what that looks like is really important. So there's one way you could say yes. You could just have kind of an apathetic yes. And you could say, yeah, I think he is. I think Jesus is the Messiah, and it really just stops there. It's just an intellectual belief. You know, maybe you were raised in a Christian home and your parents taught you about it. You go to church every Sunday, or at least when we're not in quarantine, you did. And you could believe that, yeah, I think Jesus is the Messiah, but it doesn't really impact your life. And the truth is, if you're anything like me, you may have had some seasons that you've been like that. Maybe you're in that season right now. This time of quarantine, this just whole Corona season, I know has been difficult for me at times. And I had times that, if I'm being really honest with you, that's where I've been at. Where, yeah, if we were to sit down and you were to ask me, who do you think Jesus is, Ben? I would tell you, yeah, I believe he's the Messiah. I believe he's king. He is my Lord. But where it didn't really impact my life. Where if you looked at my life, I wasn't necessarily living that way. That I believed it intellectually, but it wasn't making an impact in my life. And maybe you've been there, or maybe you're in that season right now. And I don't think that's the yes that Jesus is looking for. I mean, it's fine and it's good to believe in who he was, but I think that needs to impact our lives. It needs to change us if we really believe it. So then there's the other kind of yes. The yes that just says that I am all in. That I'm completely committed, that yeah, I believe that this man is Messiah, and because of that, that changes everything about me. That's the yes that we see from the disciples. That's the yes that we see from Peter. That is the yes that would cause you to ask Jesus to heal you of your sin. That's the kind of yes that would cause you to have ears to hear. It would cause you to want to join his kingdom movement. That's the kind of yes that would cause you to have the faith to ask Jesus for help when you need it. It's the kind of yes that would cause you to see Jesus for who he really is. And it's the kind of yes that would cause you to use the power that Jesus has given you to help people, to love people. These are all the messages that we've talked about over this month. And I truly believe that if we believe this, if we really believe that Jesus is the Messiah, that needs to have an impact on our lives, that we need to start living that way. And I believe that because I think that's what we see in Jesus' disciples. We look at Peter. Peter, he was this guy that he radically loved Jesus. We see it throughout his life. We see he's the one that made this claim that said that you are the Messiah. And yet, Peter, he didn't fully understand what that meant. He had a lot of doubts. He had these moments of challenging Jesus, like you saw in that video, of saying that, no, Jesus, you can't die, that he didn't fully quite understand what was going on. And even to the moment that when Jesus died, he abandoned him. And he left him and denied him. But something changes in Peter. Something changes because he saw a man die and then raised from the dead. And when you see a resurrection, when you see the resurrected Jesus, that changes you. And I think because of that, Peter then had this bold confidence of believing who Jesus was, of believing in who Jesus said he was. And that changed his life. Later, Peter would write these words in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3, when he would say, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In his great mercy, he has given us a new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ." See, Peter believed that he had a living hope. That was Jesus. This living hope gave Peter a bold confidence in his life. You know why? Because he saw a man die and then come back from the dead. I mean, Jesus changed everything in Peter's life. This is just so amazing because before Peter ever knew Jesus, you know what Peter did know? He knew the cross. You see, he'd seen the cross before. He'd seen crosses. He probably had seen a crucifixion before. And that was a symbol that for Rome, when Peter saw that, this cross, it meant that Rome was in control. It meant that Rome had power over them. But when Jesus died on that cross, and he saw Jesus alive again, the cross utterly changed in Peter's mind. It was no longer, it wasn't this symbol of Rome's oppression. No, it was this symbol of living hope. That then, when Peter thought about Jesus' crucifixion, he saw that as his living hope. Because he saw that death was no longer the end for him. That there was something, that Jesus was doing something beautiful. That Jesus was working to change people's hearts. Jesus working to change people's lives, and that he could change a cross into a symbol of living hope. That Jesus, he could change a grave into a garden. And I think that's what a yes looks like. If you believe that Jesus is, that this crucified Jesus really is the Messiah, then it's going to impact our lives. We're going to start living a little bit differently because of that. And if you're not feeling that right now, if you're still feeling kind of hopeless, if you're not really feeling like, I'm still kind of in that apathetic stage, here's what I want you to do. I want you to start getting to know Jesus a little bit more. Start getting to know him in this book. Start desiring to meet with Jesus. Start spending some time with him. And I believe that as you do that, that confidence of Jesus as our living hope will start to grow in you, as I know it has in me. And we can have that bold confidence that we can live with hope because of Jesus, because of who he is. So now it's time for you to answer the question. Who do you say Jesus is? Is he really the Messiah? And I want you to answer that question as we go into this worship set. We're going to sing 2 more songs that the Milligan Band has played. It's Graves into Gardens and Rattle, a new song you may not be familiar with. And these songs are all about hope. They're all about how Jesus changed a grave into a garden. They're all about how Jesus changed everything, and that gives us hope in our lives. That we can have that bold confidence that Peter had because of what Jesus did. So I want you to sing this out and think about, who do you say he is? And hopefully you brought some communion supplies. You have some bread, you have the cup, and I want you to do that as well. And when you take communion, I want that to be your response, to really think about that. And as you take that can be your bold declaration that, yes, Jesus, I believe you are the Messiah, and that is going to impact my life. So y'all, let's sing this out. Let's worship Jesus. Let's let him change our lives, because we believe he is the Messiah. We believe he is exactly who Mark said he is.
Came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing is better than you. Well, I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. You seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley, and there's not a place your mercy and grace will not find me again. Better than you. Nothing better than you. Nothing. Nothing is better than you. No, there's nothing better than you. Nothing better than you. Nothing. Nothing is better than you. better than you. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. No, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Turn morning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Saturday was silent, but surely it was through. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? Friday's disappointment, and Sunday's empty too. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is a praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. Pentecostal fire, stirring something new. You're not gonna run out of miracles anytime soon. Resurrection power runs in my veins too. Yeah, I believe there's another miracle here in this room. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is a praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. My God is able to save and deliver, heal and restore anything that He wants to. Just ask the man who was thrown on the bones of Elijah. There's anything that He can do. Just ask the stone that was thrown at the tomb in the garden. What happens when God says Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is a praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling.
Oh man, that song gets you pumped up. I hope you've heard that sound. That good news of coming from death to life. If you haven't experienced that, we want you to experience it. We want you to be united with Jesus in his life, but you got to go through that death. And you have the assurance, the hope that he will bring life from death. And so that's why we declare this song over everyone tonight. And I hope that you will spend this week meditating on this good news of Jesus. I hope that you will be encouraged and have hope because of this good news. Don't stop reading about Jesus just because we're done with the Gospel of Mark. Spend time with him, with your small group, getting a chance to talk about what that means for your life. How have you felt hopeless over these last few months? And how can we have assurance because of Jesus Christ that we will live again? All right, GC Youth, it's been a great night, and I hope that you have a great time in small group, and we'll see you soon.